So I moved $100,000 over. About $58,000 on Nike. You may say, come on, man, there's nothing good with Nike. Nothing good. It's all bad. Vietnam, tariffs, the company's in a turnaround mode, blah, blah, blah. I think I'm going to triple my money. I think that $58,000 is going to triple up within 3 years. And I'm very confident in that. I like everything I see there. A bunch of short-term stuff. Nike's been through this game a million times. They got Elliot Hill running the show now. He took back over the company late last year. That guy's been through everything with Nike. He's seen tariffs. He's had to move production lines out of different countries over time. He's been through it all. I'm very comfortable putting $58,000 in Nike today. E.l.f., $13,000 buy. This is one of the silliest drops in the market here today. E.l.f., the fact that they dropped E.l.f. down to that price is just baffling. Baffling. E.l.f. has already been through the tariff drama. They already went through it back in 2018. And guess what? They got through it just fine. And the company's stronger and better than ever. So what do you think they're going to do? They're going to do better than ever. You want to say, okay, weaker consumer? You know what that means? Trade down to E.l.f. because E.l.f. has the quality products at cheap prices. So if you want to talk about a weakened consumer and, a woman can't afford as expensive makeup, they're going to E.l.f. E.l.f.'s now doing business all over the globe, so some of these tariffs aren't even going to affect a lot of their global business, whereas back in 2018 when they had to go through it, the first time, they were heavy U.S. And that management team's gone through this game before. They already seen it. And if you listen to the latest conference call, they already showed you the roadmap on how they're going to mitigate the tariffs. And keep in mind, a lot of the products that E.l.f. brings through are like products that are $2, $3, $4, $5. For them to raise price on that is nothing. Literally nothing. So E.l.f., easy money buy here today. AMD bought pretty good amount of AMD, about $11,000 worth of AMD here today, right? I've spoken about AMD a lot on the channel recently. I think we'll just look back at this time period and be like AMD is one of those stocks that is the most well-positioned for the next bull run. Whether the next bull run starts this year or next year, right? Let's say this year is just a whole down year and we just go down, down, down. Let's say the next bull run doesn't start till next year. Whatever the situation is, when we do go through the next bull run, I think AMD is one of the most well-positioned companies to absolutely have an exploding stock price. I'm talking like what we witnessed in NVIDIA, what we witnessed in Meta, right? If you were buying that stock in 2022, that's how I feel about AMD buying it this year. I think people that are buying AMD this year will look and say oh my gosh, this was buying Meta or NVIDIA back in that 2022 stock market crash, right? Honest, about 1,111 shares of Honest in this particular portfolio. Oh my gosh, that's just another silly sell-off, another silly sell. You want to talk about somebody that's ready to get through the storm, Honest is very well positioned. Very well positioned. They're in a stronger position than I've ever seen the company in. Have you seen the balance sheet? The latest quarterly numbers was around $75 million. Incredible number in terms of cash on the balance sheet with no debt. Come on. Amazon, I had to buy some Amazon today. You're going to give me Amazon right now in the 180s? Come on, man. Come on. Anything, Amazon, keep this in mind in regards to Amazon stock. I'll give you a specific price, okay? Anything under $200 a share for Amazon is stealing money if you have a long-term outlook. Stealing money. Anything under 200. When you think about the e-commerce business, how much growth that has over the coming years, when you think about the AWS business and then their advertising business, come on, man. Those are three growth businesses for decades to go in the future. Everybody's worried about what's happening today. I'm worried about what's happening 5 years from now. Today's today. It is what it is. And now we hear about Amazon's bidding on TikTok. We'll see what happens with that. I don't want to get too excited about that. But I will say, that happens, that's huge for Amazon. Oh my gosh, do you know what that would do for their advertising business in their shopping platform? Considering, obviously TikTok's pretty big in shopping now. Oh my gosh. That wasn't all my buys. I did more buys. These particular buys were in the public count here today. Moved $43,000 over. It's been a long time since I moved a big dollar amount into the public count. Usually I just do my every Friday buys in there. Not today. Not on a day like today. We're doing big boy buys, okay? What did I do? I bought $12,000 plus of E.l.f, Estee Lauder, another just beaten down dog stock, you know. You can't get any more negative in regards to these sorts of companies. It cannot. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? I bought another $8,500 worth of Nike, another $5,600 worth of Nike, and then another $17,700 of AMD in the public account here today, right? I said, just did some pretty big buys, biggest day of me putting money in the market in years, maybe my biggest ever. I put $143 of fresh money in today. That's bigger than even my 2022. Yeah, I mean, I do remember there was a day in 2022 when I bought like $70,000 worth of Meta, or $77,000. I think that, I mean, the video still exists here on YouTube if anybody wants to actually find it. But if I recall, there was a day, I think I put $77,000 in Meta in a day or something crazy like that, right? And so this is like a double up of that. This is like a whole other level of big buying here today, right? Alrighty. Listen, before we get into where my cash levels are at and what my plans from here, I need to say something very important, right? Because you see me buying big dog buys here today, right? When you go through a correction or a crash in the market, and since I've been on YouTube since 2016, I've now seen a lot of corrections or crashes in the market, right? I saw the crash in 2022 when the NASDAQ fell around 37%. Saw the crash in 2020, which was the fastest stock market crash in history. You know, S&P 500 fell almost 35% like in a matter of a few weeks. It was ridiculous, right? Obviously seen this, seen the 2018 drop. I've seen enough corrections and crashes since I've been on YouTube and kind of, you know, seen retail investors come and go in the market and traders and things like that. These markets is when you really find out who's long-term investors and who's not. Really is. Everybody can say, oh, I'm a long-term investor. Oh, I'm an investor. When the market goes up every day, it's not hard to do. If the market goes up every day and all your portfolio does is go up, I don't know one person that wouldn't feel comfortable with that. You could be the most risk-averse person in the world, but if every day you wake up and your portfolio says a bigger number and bigger number and bigger number, you're like, oh, I just made $5,000. Oh, I just made $10,000. I just made $25,000. Who could do that? Everybody could do that. These markets, this is when you find out who's really long-term investors. Because you know what happens? Some investors sell. They sell. Some investors never come back to the market. Some investors say, I'm going to sell now, I'm going to get back in, blah, blah, blah time. And then they think they're going to get better returns. I have yet to see one person in my 16 years plus in the stock market, in my nearly 10 years on YouTube now, oh my gosh, just dated myself, almost 10 years on YouTube. I have yet to see one person who times in and out of the market all the time, who has great returns over a 5+ year span. Haven't seen it once. All these people that say, oh, it's going down a lot more, I'm going to time back in near the bottom, you know, boom, boom, boom. It's all baloney. If I look at those people's returns, they're bad. They're not even probably keeping up with the S&P 500. Because they're trying to play these games of like short-term, blah, blah, blah. Short-term doesn't get you anywhere. You should know that. I don't know one person on that Forbes list that got there by focusing on the short term. Every single person on that Forbes list was thinking long term. Every single one. From Bezos to Buffett to Musk, these guys are all thinking years in the future. Every business legend you could have ever looked up to, Steve Jobs, they're thinking years to go in the future. They're not worried about today. Today is what today is. If you want the big money, you got to be focusing on what's happening 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 7 years from now. The day-to-day drama is just what it is. It's just a drama. It's here today, gone tomorrow. And who knows, a month from now, half these tariffs could be removed or depleted or whatever. I think it's going to be what it is going to be. But you got to be thinking years ahead. And so in these sorts of markets, this is what you find out who's the boys and who's the men in this market. Because the men are stepping up and they're going to buy. If the market goes another 20% lower, they're going to be buying the whole way, right? As long as you got more income than expenses, you're in a good financial position. If you don't have more income than expenses, better get on that dang Uber Eats, that DoorDash, Grubhub, do what you got to do, okay? because you got to have more income than expenses. That's the number one key to investing. We find out who's the boys and the men in this market, right? And it's going to be the ones that step up and they buy the whole dip, and then they look like geniuses a few years from now. Like, it's what it always happens. It never changes. They always say this time's different. It never changes. If you were buying as a tech bubble blew up, genius. If you were buying as a great financial crisis blew up, genius. If you were buying in the 2018 correction, the back half of the year like I was, genius. If you were buying during the 2020 crash, genius. If you were buying during the 2022 crash, guess what? Genius. You want to go back before that? We want to go back to the 90s. We can go back to the 80s. We can go back to the 70s. It doesn't matter. Genius. But the other people think they sound smart in the short term because they say, oh, you shouldn't be buying right now. Wait till blah, blah, blah day. Oh, yeah, that's going to be the perfect time to get in. That's when the stocks are going to hit the lows, and then it's going to go up from there. Whatever. Good luck. Good luck to you. I don't know anybody that's done it successfully over time. And I know a lot of people. The only people I know that got the big houses and the nice cars and go on the nice trips and all that stuff, all long-term thinkers. All focused on their investments over the long term, not what the day-to-day blah, blah, blah is, right? And they take, when assets are trading at silly prices, they take advantage. I see a lot of assets today that were trading at silly prices. And I believe those assets will appreciate greatly over the next few years. And if I'm wrong on that, I'll gladly take the risk. Because the risk to not taking that risk is much bigger. The risk to me not buying Nike today, E.l.f, AMD, all the stocks you saw me buying today, the risk for me not buying those stocks is much larger than the risk of buying those stocks here today. Once you begin to think like that, you start to think differently. That's very important, okay? Some people are going to get what I just said there, and you're going to be like, that's genius. Like, why? Yes, the risk is bigger to not being buying on a day like today than it is. Some won't get it. And that's fine. Not everybody's built for this. Not everybody's built for this, okay? That's the other thing I found over time. Not everybody, sadly enough, is built for this game of being a long-term investor in companies. But this is a sort of market you find out who's the boys and who's the men. And that's what we're finding out, right? Who's the little girls and who's the grown women? Who's the independents out there, okay? That's what you find out in a market like this. All right, let's talk about my cash levels now at this point in time, right? So obviously, when it comes to me with cash, I was building cash a lot in the second half of 2024, going into the beginning of this year, right? And the reason being is, we just had a tremendous bull run. We had a tremendous bull run from basically, the end of 2022, I was extremely low on cash, extremely low. Right? And then I kept buying as we went into that first half of 2023. And then I started to slowly try to build cash, right? As we went throughout that, and then as we went throughout 2024. And built cash more and more and more. And as the market went higher, built cash more and more and more. And it wasn't because I was looking at Warren Buffett. I'm like, Warren Buffett's building cash. I got to build cash. No, it was just for the simple fact of like, I was very low in cash. I needed to get to healthy positions. Then I got to healthy positions. And then the market was trading at really high valuations. At the end of last year into the beginning of this year, very high valuations, right? And so I decided, I'm going to build cash a little more. And so I've gone into this situation in a really strong cash position, right? And I do my weekly buys. I buy in my private portfolios every Friday, as well as the public account and the Patreon portfolio. But I haven't been putting like that big dog money in until really like recently. This is when like the big dog money has started to come in, right? And I've started to deplete some of those cash levels. So the moral of the story is my cash position is definitely weakened now, right? I've been buying, this last couple of weeks, and obviously a $143,000 buy today. So definitely weakened my cash position, but I'm still strong like Donkey Kong. We could double up this loss in the market and I'll still be buying. So I'm still in a good cash position. I'm just not in as good of a cash position, I guess you can say, right?
Hey, I want to thank you so much for watching that clip. I hope you really enjoyed it. What I'm showing you in front of your face right now is 1000xstocks.com. This is such an important website and service to use if you want to research companies, if you want to understand companies on a high level, so you can hopefully get better results in the market. And we know as the years tick on, money compounds. It is so important you research companies, you compare companies, you're listening to conference calls, looking at SEC filings. All that's included into 1000xstocks.com. So to enjoy 1000xstocks.com and to apply for that service, you can go to the description area of this video, or you can go to 1000xstocks.com, whichever you prefer.
I want to show you guys some very important things I posted here. So obviously I posted about VIX, right? Gotta be buying when the VIX is 40 plus. Because here's the thing, like I put here, every time investors bought with the VIX 40 plus, those investors made a fortune a couple years later, right? 5 days later, 5 weeks later, 5 months later, that's anybody's best guess. But the moral of the story is, every single time the VIX goes 40 plus, it's a huge buy the dip opportunity. You say, this time's different. What do you think they said during the great financial crisis? What do you think they said during Rona? What do you think they said during, every other time period in the past? They always say this time's different. All stocks to zero. Everything's zero. We're all going to zero, right? Fear and greed index, 4. Oh my gosh. I put this, I said fear and greed index just hit the lowest number since March 2020 when the worldwide economy was being shut down for what many believed was going to be years. The market is more fearful than during the 2008 great financial crisis. I mean, it's literally, you got to understand, like, everything is literally about as bad as it can get. Like, literally. What are we going to go to, a 2 or a 1 on the fear and greed index? Like, it can't go below 0. We're almost at 0. That's how fearful this market is. And what do we know? The great Warren Buffett saying, you know what it is, right? Buy when others are fearful. Be greedy. Oh no, be greedy when others are fearful. That's the proper way. Be greedy when others are fearful. Be fearful when others are greedy, right? Now, this I posted earlier, we are at a 6. Then we went all the way down to a 4 in regards to fear and greed index. Now, this is very important. I posted this late last night. I don't think a lot of people got to see it because I posted it so late at night. But I said, I have something important to show you. This AI investor sentiment numbers. This survey has been done since the 1980s. This is the most bearish 6-week span in history of the survey. If you look back to every 6-week span, you've never seen one this bearish, with numbers this bearish for a 6-week period. This is unprecedented. Even in the great financial crisis, even during the Rona crash, even during all these other time periods of insane volatility, right? 60% plus bearish, 57%, 59%, 58%, 52%, and 61%. Shockingly high bearish numbers, right? Shockingly high. And guess what? New data is going to come out in a few days in regards to the survey. What do you think is going to be again? Unless things magically change and tariffs start to be removed and things start looking great. My guess is when that report comes out another 4 or 5 days from now, it's probably going to be another week of insane bearishness. But that's not going to last. Like, none of this stuff lasts. You don't stay in an extreme fear market forever, right? Eventually you get out of that extreme fear, the sun comes out again, and people are like, oh man, yeah. So by the way, and if you want to follow me on X, certainly I'll have that as pinned comment down there today, okay? Now, what did I buy? Because I was out there buying today, like everybody that should be when the VIX is 40 plus. So what did I buy today? Well, I bought a lot of stocks first off. So I bought stocks in the public account as I do every Friday. I bought stocks in the Patreon portfolio as I do every Friday. And I also bought stocks in one of my private portfolios as I do every Friday. But additionally, I did a big money buy. So I always put a certain amount of money into each portfolio every single Friday, the same amount. But I did a big dog amount in another portfolio here today. I moved over $51,000 from savings, and I went ahead and bought. Honest, I bought $4,400 worth of Honest. I bought around $4,000 worth of Win stock. I bought around $7,500 worth of Shopify stock. $13,000 of Amazon. I did a big boy buy of AMD here today in that portfolio, $19,000 buy. And then E.l.f, I bought $3,000 plus worth of E.l.f on a shelf here today, right? And so, I think we're going to look back a few years from now on all these stocks that I bought today, and we're going to be like, that was crazy. Like, can you believe they sold up blah, blah, blah stock to that price during that Trump tariff crash? Can you remember that? Remember the Trump tariff crash? By the way, crashed. Look at this. My wife tried to look at it, the Amazon drone. They tried to order something from the Amazon drone, and I guess it crashed, kind of like the market, right? Oh man, fascinating times, fascinating times. Okay, let's go ahead and react to some videos here. And by the way, congratulations to everybody out there buying stocks. Congratulations. You are the few, the proud, not the Marines, but you're the few and the proud of the stock market, because man, I can tell you, this is a sort of market that a lot of people have a lot of trouble buying in. A lot of trouble. For me, it's easy. Like, I just got some sort of mentality that, like, I see all this and I'm like, let's freaking go. Like, this is what we live for as stock market investors. Because when you're buying during these time periods, you just know you're going to make so much money in the end. Right? Oh, this time's different. This is one time we'll never make money. Okay, that's fine. That's what they said in 2022. That's what they said in 2020. That's what they said in 2018. That's what they said in 2015. That's what they said in 2008, 2009. That's what they said in 2001, 2002. Right? That's what they said in 1987. I mean, that's what they said in the 70s. We'll go back every decade, they say. Especially when you're going through some sort of this was the end of America. This is the end of the global economy. We're done. We're finished. This is it. Nope. Can't come back from this. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. Come on. And then, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, that was like a magic trick. How did we make it?
Look at and say, it's so bad, it's got to be good or close to it at this point. I point out your move today in Nike, down 15% this week, right in the crosshairs of tariffs related to China. And you bought it. You bought the stock. Why? Why now?
Really more Vietnam. I bought it yesterday, and really it's in relation to Vietnam. And so I think that whoever made that board that Trump had out should be fired with the math. Vietnam does not have a 90% tariff. It's absurd. They have a 5% tariff. And so what we have to decide as a country is
Ma'am, it's politics. These politicians, they lie consistently all the time and fabricate stuff that's welcome to the world.
We want to manufacture here, and what do we actually want to manufacture in great countries like Vietnam? Nike, Restoration Hardware, Wayfair, all moved much of their manufacturing out of China during Trump's first presidency into Vietnam. Vietnam is happy to make these. Nike pays these people probably like $5,000 or $6,000 a year. They're happy to make them, and we do not want to export those jobs. My sense is there is going to be a reckoning between the U.S. and Vietnam. And actually, I think 20 minutes ago, Trump posted on his True Social that he just had a conversation with the General Secretary of Vietnam, and they want to bring down their tariffs, which once again are 5%, not 90. And so to me, it's like a beaten up name. I just think it's overdone. I think the stock could trade back up to $70 pretty quickly, because we do not want to import these types of manufacturing to America. Exactly. No Americans want those jobs. So to me, it was a trade. I think it's a fat pitch. I think Wayfair, Restoration Hardware, I think you're going to get some reprieve from these types of American companies doing the right thing.
Exactly. No one wants that job. I don't know one person that's like, oh, please bring back the shoe manufacturing in the United States. I can't wait to get a job at the factory putting the shoes together. I don't know one person that is like, oh, yes, let's go, baby. Go down to the shoe factory. We're going to make Nikes. Oh, let's go make some Nike socks. Yes, I can't wait. Let's go make Nike socks every day. Oh, I can't wait. I don't know one American that's like, sign me up for that. Let's go, baby. No. But in other countries, like, that's a good job. Like, I'll gladly take that job. Putting shoes together, let's go. Making socks, making hoodies, making shirts, making hats. Gladly do that job. But in America, like, we move past that, right? And so, it's just hilarious, right? There's certain manufacturing jobs I can understand. You want to have, higher dollar amount stuff. I could even say some furniture, right? Could be a good example. But appliances, right? Cars, autos, things like that. Okay. But to say, let's go, like high-end electronics, high-end semiconductors. That's the sort of stuff that it's like, yeah, that makes sense. Let's manufacture that in the United States of America. Socks, shoes, shirts, towels, beach chairs, wicker. What are we talking about? Come on, man.